Is the vision for you at some point to be able to kind of talk to the football team as you design that watch?
I'd love to. I'm not as well known in football, but I'd love to, because to me, it's not about me, it's about them. So I want to design something that they want, right? I don't care what it looks like necessarily. I mean, I want it to look nice, don't get me wrong, but I want them to love it. So I can only make something that they love if they have a say in what's being created.
I love it. All right. I'm here with John Kanaras of AXIA Time. So you've been so blessed to be a part of a lot of people's most memorable moments. You were telling me earlier just about how this all came to be, how this whole company started. And I know you said it before, but I want you to just bring the people in a little bit, because we have some visuals here, right? So talk to me about this picture and what it means and how it brought about AXIA Time.
Yeah, so this is a famous picture. For people who know lacrosse, they know this goal. It's the most famous goal in lacrosse history. It's called the Air Gate. So the guy who scored the goal is Gary Gate. He and his twin brother revolutionized the game. It was called the Air Gate because he jumped from behind the goal and stuffed the ball in. It was back at the time of Air Jordan, so they called it the Air Gate. What a lot of people don't know is I'm the goalie in this picture. So I'm getting scored on. And in fact, that's my helmet from 1988 behind you. So the reason this company kind of came to exist came out of my experience playing that year. So that was 1988. We went to, this is a Final Four game. So we lost this game by one goal with 3 seconds left. Gary's twin brother, Paul, scored that goal on me. Syracuse went on to crush Cornell in the National Championship game. We had crushed Cornell during the regular season. So through our lens, this was the National Championship game. And, we fought, it's got David versus Goliath kind of thing. And it was just the way I went out from my college athletic experience. We left it all on the field. We fell one goal short of winning the national championship, but it was a great season with great memories. We had won the Ivy League championship coming into the playoffs, and then we made it to the Final Four. So this year that season was a special season in my life. Fond memories playing, with my brothers out on the field. And what the university gave us to commemorate that season was a watch. And at the time, they didn't give out fancy stuff. And so what they gave us was this watch. And so it frustrated me because, so here's, great memories commemorated by something not so great. Like the style and quality on this is kind of retro, not really great quality. And as I became a watch guy, I learned that it wasn't so great. I'm not faulting the university. This was what they made back then. But for me, because the memories were so meaningful, I wanted something equally meaningful in terms of style and quality to commemorate that. And so I started looking for a university branded watch for Penn, and I couldn't find it. I literally looked for 30 years. And after 30 years of looking, turned 50, this became my midlife crisis. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it myself. And so I started doing projects. I got licensed with Penn first, did a project for Penn Lacrosse, and kept getting more and more licenses, more and more projects. And it was a hobby. From 2018 until about a year ago, it was just a hobby that grew and grew into a growing business. I think I've got an insight, or struck a nerve, so to speak, with some people. They want something nice to commemorate a big moment in their life. And that's been the essence of what we're doing.
So I'm gonna ask you to take me back just a little bit.
Sure.
So after this was all created, tell me about the first watch that you created.
So the first watch was a Penn Lacrosse watch. It was, we were celebrating the 100th anniversary of Penn Lacrosse. And everyone, all the fellow alums knew I was a watch guy. Like, hey, why don't you do a watch? I'm like, all right. So I started researching private label watches. And so I found a guy in Switzerland who does private label watches. We came up with a design. With the benefit of hindsight, I kind of I could have done something much nicer, but it was my first project. It was a nice watch. I mean, it was fine. But I had a lot of fun doing it. It was just a blast learning about the watch industry. And I figured, I'm like, wow, this isn't that hard. I could actually navigate this space. But then the other thing was I got feedback from my fellow alums. They're like, this is really cool. I'm like, maybe I could turn this into a business someday. But again, I had a day job. I had, tuitions to pay. I'm like, look, I'll do it. I'll do projects and see if it gets some traction. And it did. Mainly in the lacrosse world, because that's where I had all my connections. So a big break for me was in 2019, UVA won the national championship. The head coach there, Lars Tiffany, is a personal friend of mine. We still play together up in Lake Placid every summer. And so I texted Lars to congratulate him. He texted back, he's like, hey, would you design a watch for the guys? I'm like, oh my God, what a brilliant idea. That's exactly what I should be doing. So then I got licensed with CLC. They're here in Atlanta. They navigate all the college licenses for all the big universities. They licensed me for the NCAA and UVA to do that watch. My day job at the time for the last 30 years was in healthcare, vaccines specifically. I happened to be in Atlanta for a meeting with the CDC after the UVA watch had come in. So I swung by the CLC offices with the UVA watch and showed a couple of guys there, and like, no one's doing this in the college space. Like, you got to get yourself to the Football Bowl Association. I'm like, what's the Football Bowl Association? I have no idea. It's like all the guys who run the bowl games, right? So I got to the Football Bowl Association, and I got to meet the guys who run CFP, who happen to be watch guys. They liked what I was doing, and I'm like, would you guys consider licensing me? And they did. They licensed me to do watches for fans. Did them for Georgia when they won the national championship in 21 and 22. And then Michigan, that was like game changing for me. But yeah, so just like little opportunities like that, like angels on my shoulder. So Dave Kirkpatrick and Olin Arnold here, who are at CLC, had they not said you should go to the Football Bowl Association, I wouldn't be here today.
So this is where we are right now. So we're probably days away, right, for this year's national championship game. Yeah. But you talked about just a little while ago about a big break for you where you kind of commemorated Michigan's championship. Yeah. Can you show us that watch and tell us about how that happened? Yeah,
so because I was licensed, we had made watches for Georgia the last 2 years, and then Michigan's in the finals or in the semifinals. And I happened to know one of the agents who works at Athletes First that represents Coach Harbaugh. I reached out to him asking, like, would Coach Harbaugh ever consider doing a deal with me? They all knew I was doing it part-time still, to autograph the box sets for the watches I was designing. And one thing led to another. They agreed to a deal. We had the deal in place before the national championship game. It was a contingent deal. If you win, the deal activates. And so this is one of the watches we did for Michigan. And Coach Harbaugh literally signed these watch trays. They were limited edition to 300 pieces, and they basically sold out overnight. It was crazy. Like, the Michigan fans were so excited about what they had accomplished, 15-0. It was great. But it was also, a commemorative piece with Coach Harbaugh, who was a Michigan man, who was leaving to go to the NFL. So it was like this whole perfect, storm of factors, I think, that contributed. The design is really cool, but then the Harbaugh piece. And then you can see in there's a little piece of wood. So I met a guy, again, angels on my shoulder at every turn. I meet a guy who's got a business called Tokens and Icons out in California. He buys the bleachers from Michigan Stadium. He buys them from Ohio State and Notre Dame, the floors from Pauley Pavilion. Like, he buys like game used stuff like that and then turns it into bottle openers, pens, like you name it. He had little scraps of wood from the Michigan Stadium seats from years ago. And I'm like, hey, would you sell me those? I'll include it in my box set. Because I mean, if you're a Michigan fan and you get not only Coach's autograph, but a piece of wood from Michigan Stadium, like, how cool is that? So yeah, so we try and do things that the average fan is meaningful to them.
So talk to me about the design of the watch, right? So the watch is intricately designed. Yeah. So there's a repeating pattern in the back, but that pattern normally means something to the fan, right? Or means something to the team. Talk to me about that design. So how'd you start coming up with those designs for these watches?
So I go back to my experience. I wanted a nice watch with a Penn logo. I didn't care what brand made it. It was about that Penn logo is a part of my identity. It's a part of who I am. It's a formative time in my life. So I want that logo front and center. And so for you, with my time, right, my voice, that logo means something to you. It's a part of your identity, right? And so if I were to design a watch for you, I would want that to be front and center. It's not about me. The person wants to get a good quality watch, nice design at a fair price, and that's what I try and do. I think showing you is probably the easiest way, right? So making CFP is a big deal. So the CFP logo is the repeating pattern here because it's an honor to be part of CFP. We try and find ways to personalize it. So it says Road to Atlanta because that's where we are for the national championship game. All those teams wanted to get to Atlanta. Ohio State and Notre Dame did. And so the design, the colors, the logo is theirs. My logo is there very subtly at the tail of the second hand, right? Because I want people to know what brand is producing the watch. And I'm trying to, AXIA is a Greek word, it means value. I'm trying to create this identity for the company that we deliver a lot of value for the money, but we also put your logo front and center because it's important to you.
I love it. So I'm seeing this one. I see a different design a little bit for but actually very, customized there. But you still go back into the lacrosse world, right? And because that's kind of where it all started. You still go back into the lacrosse world. Tell me about your ties to the lacrosse world still, and how much you are able to kind of navigate that space.
So the lacrosse world, I'm very intertwined into a lot of the organizations. So a lot of coaches are friends of mine. I played with or against in college. So I sponsor the Coaches Association, both on the men's side and the women's side. So I'm very active with the coaches. The coaches make a lot of the decisions. The players have, because they've seen the projects we've done over the years for the national championships, it's now becoming kind of almost like this tradition. Like you win a championship, you get a watch as well, right? So we're starting to change that culture a little bit. I mean, they still want the ring, but they want the watch in addition to the ring, right? So we're doing that. So we did, you may know this, we did the Heisman watches this year,
yes.
Right? So the Heisman watches, those started with a lacrosse watch. So the lacrosse equivalent for Heisman is called the Tewaaraton Award. Yeah, and so the Tewaaraton Award is given out to the top athlete in college lacrosse, men and women. This is a Notre Dame kid who kind of opened my eyes to this. So this is a great story. I'll try and be brief. So July 2021, NIL goes live. This kid, Pat Kavanaugh, reaches out to me. He likes watches. He doesn't know my lacrosse connections. He's like, hey, would you sponsor me as an NIL deal? I like watches. I explain my lacrosse connection. We really hit it off. And he tells me this story. He's like, look, I was just a Tewaaraton finalist, and they told me I'm this elite athlete, but I don't really have anything to show for it. And he's like, I wish I had something that I could show my kids someday. Yeah, I didn't win, but at least I was a finalist. And he's like, I wish I had a watch. And that was a light bulb moment for me. Like, you're right, Pat. Like, being a finalist is a big deal for one of those awards. We should do watches. And so I navigated through the lacrosse world to get to the guys who run Tewaaraton. I explained the story with Pat. I'm like, would you ever consider letting me make watches for Tewaaraton? And they're like, sure, be a sponsor. I'll show you the watch. And so I started doing the Tewaaraton watches. And so this is the Tewaaraton watch we did, that we still do for all the finalists. And now the winner goes home with the trophy, but all the finalists get the watch because it is a big deal to be a finalist. So I'm doing Tewaaraton. There's another lacrosse friend. Again, the lacrosse world just keeps coming back, right? Another lacrosse friend is on the board of the Naismith Awards here in Atlanta, the Atlanta Tip-Off Club. So Tim McGee is now the chairman of the Naismith Awards. But he saw what I was doing with Tewaaraton. He's like, hey, would you do that for Naismith? I'm like, sure, I'll do that for Naismith. So I started doing Naismith watches, same concept. Actually, that's a Naismith watch over there with Zach Eady. So I do the Naismith watches, and I do the Tewaaraton watches. And then when I start doing AXIA full time, someone puts a bug in me, like, you should go do Heisman watches. And I'm like, well, someone want to make an introduction? So back to CLC, Dave Kirkpatrick, another angel on my shoulder, here in Atlanta. He introduces me to the guys at the Heisman Trophy Trust, Rob Whalen. I go in, I start explaining kind of the history, why I'm doing this. The president, Mike Comerford, is at the head of the table explaining the story. I tell him about Pat Kavanaugh. They went to the same high school. So Pat's a Chaminade guy. Mike Comerford's a Chaminade guy. He's a lacrosse guy. His nieces play lacrosse at Penn. And it was just like, we had a lot of connections, and the story was so authentic. And I said to them, I said, look, the winner clearly goes home with a trophy, right? The Heisman winner, you're walking, Travis Hunter's walking home with the trophy. I'm like, what do the other three guys get? They're like, not a lot. I'm like, would you consider letting me do a watch for those finalists? And so for the finalists for this year, all 4 finalists got this watch. That's the watch that all 4 Heisman finalists got this year.
Wow. That's
because
gorgeous.
It's a big deal to be a Heisman finalist.
Yes.
Yeah, the winner going home with the trophy is school, but the other 3 guys should be celebrated too.
I love that. Okay. In an interview, Travis Hunter talks about his watch, right? He says, "Hey, I'm very excited about this watch." He said he wouldn't wear it. And we need to talk about that too, right?
Yeah.
So he said, "I wouldn't wear it. I'm gonna, store it along with all the other stuff that I have, but I'm glad I have something to commemorate this moment, right? When you hear something, because I mean, everybody's talking about Travis Hunter every day now, right? Sure. But he's talking about your watch. So when you hear that, how does that make you feel?
Really good, really good. It's exactly why I started this company. I wanted people like Travis and Cam Ward, all those guys. I want them to have something that when they're older and they have kids of their own, they can hand it down to their kid, and their kid can be like, "Look, my dad was a Heisman finalist," right? And so that's my hope, is that it becomes a family heirloom, that they hand it down from generation to generation to be like, "Look, this was a special time in our life, and here's what I have to commemorate it."
So going back to your story a little bit, because you said, the first year you won a championship, they gave you a ring, right? And the second year, it's like, okay, we didn't wear the ring, but we will wear the watch, right? But to hear Travis, say, I won't wear it.
Listen, the fact that he appreciates what that watch is, and he wants to put it on a shelf to keep it as a token, a trophy of what he accomplished. That's enough for me. He doesn't have to wear it. If he does want to wear it, great. If he doesn't, that's okay too. It's not like I don't need people to necessarily wear my watches to be fulfilled. The fulfillment for me comes in the appreciation of the watch is the vehicle to the memories. That's what it is for me. It's that seeing that watch take them back to that moment of like what it was like to be named a Heisman finalist. Like those kind of things don't come around very often in life.
So we just talked about, this process. It's been a very long process for you, but actually it's been an amazing process, right? Just kind of hearing your story. Talk to me about the highest moment for you, or the most rewarding, most satisfying moment of this journey.
I think it was the Heisman press release. Not press release, the press conference where he handed out the watches. So I got to kind of address the press corps along with Mike Comerford, the president, and we kind of debuted all the watches for all the finalists. And when they came up on stage and got the watches, we had video guy there, we had a photographer there. To see the genuine glee in their faces and the smiles and how they were checking out the watch, like that, to me, that's exactly why I started this company. And like, it wasn't like some fake, like, oh, whatever, right? It was, they were checking it out. They were into it. And so to me, that was the coolest moment so far.
I love it. You've gotten to do some other cool stuff too. And I want to talk about that just a little bit. So I'm looking at this helmet over here, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Probably the prettiest helmet I've ever seen in my life, to be honest with you. And I'm a big black and gold guy, right? Talk to me about this helmet and the design of it, and what does it mean to you to be able to kind of say, you know what, this commemorates my relationship with the CFP.
Yeah, so there's a lot of symbolism that went into this, but I'm super proud to be affiliated with the CFP. They're great people. They put on an incredible event, and they hold everything in the highest standard. It's just, I pinch myself that I'm a partner with them. And so I wanted something that was relevant to the moment. Obviously a football helmet is relevant to the moment. And so I worked with a company, Gridiron Green, that they make custom helmets. And so I said, like, I'd want a black helmet because their colors are black and gold, as you can see with the drapes and velvet drapes that we have. So on one side, I wanted to have my logo in gold, and then the CFP logo on the opposite side. But the other thing that's important is, so AXIA is a Greek word. It means worth or value. My parents are Greek immigrants. It's a big part of my identity. And so we wanted the Greek key to go down the middle to tie it together. So the old with the new, the partnership together. And it's just a cool piece. It's gorgeous. It's fun to have here. And appreciate the feedback.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. I'm gonna stay with the black and gold theme just for a second. Now this is for some of our listeners, and our viewers, right? So we normally do a lot of HBCU events.
Oh, cool.
And you showed me earlier a gorgeous watch.
It's freaking
that
awesome.
I got instantly jealous about. It's the Alpha watch. Talk to me about how that came to be as well.
Yeah, so I was at a watch show in DC, and this guy, Brandon Willing. Brandon will be here with us tomorrow. Brandon's family, all lineage of alpha guys, and he's into watches, and he saw all the custom stuff I'm doing. He's like, would you ever do a watch for the alphas? I'm like, sure. As long as I have permission to use their logo, I'll do whatever you all want. And so we got together, we designed a really cool watch for the alphas, got it approved by the national office, and started making it available to all the brothers. And it's been a lot of fun. And the feedback from them, actually, they just had an inauguration of their new president, and he got his watch before the inauguration. He wanted to wear it. That's the kind of stuff to me that just it warms my heart. Like he wanted to wear that watch during his inauguration because of the design was such that it was an alpha watch, and it honors what's important to him. And so the fact that he wanted to wear it it was amazing.
And it's a gorgeous watch. Like, it is remarkable. Like I said, the jealousy was all over me.
We'll do an iota, man. Let's do an iota together.
Let's talk about it.
Let's do them together.
So I'll kind of wrap this up here, right? What I love about your story is that not only did you see a problem, right, and the problem kind of vexed you, but you attacked that problem. But there's a joy in your journey. There's a true joy in your journey and a passion. Amen. There are other people out there who have the same type of joy, same type of passion for what they're doing. Yeah. And maybe they're not seeing as many of the, angels. Can you talk about maybe what were some of those struggles, and then how did you overcome them to get to where you are now?
It's a good question. There have been a lot of struggles along the way. It hasn't been easy, but I've got an incredible family with a lot of support. And so I'm a resilient guy. I want to keep moving forward. I'm a problem solver, but also got a great, network of love and support at home that helps me to overcome these things. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be here today. So I think that's the foundation of it all.
So what's some advice you would give to them?
To one of the people out there pursuing their passion, but maybe not achieving, just keep grinding. Anything worthwhile takes a lot of hard work and time. Just keep grinding. It'll turn. It'll turn. And if you're doing it for the right reasons, people will see it, and it'll be like gravity. They'll be pulled into your orbit and want to help you. I think that's the angels I talk about. I think people they want to help me because they see the stories authentic. They feel the passion, and they want to help me succeed. And I've been this whole journey is just lined with angels at every step. It's been incredible. So this is amazing. Heisman, right? College football playoff. Every champion is going to get a watch. You're in the lacrosse world. You're in the football world. You're in the basketball world, right? You're everywhere. What's the future for this company? I want to own college sports. I want all of these memories that these young athletes and others are creating. I want them to have something that celebrates it, that they can look back on these formative, special times in their life and have something that brings them back. Thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing, and I love your story. Thank you, man. Really appreciate everything. Appreciate you guys coming in, staying late. You guys are awesome. Thanks. Oh, my absolute pleasure. All right, y'all. We love you. God bless you. We're out.